Donald Trump's lawyers again ask for early verdict in civil fraud trial. Judge says, no way. Associated Press. Donald Trump's lawyers rested his defense Tuesday and sought anew to immediately end the New York Civil fraud trial that threatens the former president's real estate empire. Trump's lawyers, thwarted in a similar bid last month, were swatted down as they asked Judge Arthur Engoron to cut the trial short and issue a verdict clearing Trump, his company and top executives of wrongdoing. The judge reiterated his feeling that state lawyers had met their legal burden for seeing the 3-month trial. Below are your comments. Trump's lawyers want to end their commitment to Trump before the money runs out. They have nothing else to go on in his defense. They are getting worried he will not pay them anymore money if he feels he is going to lose. They had a good run and most likely got the money first. I am sure they know. It seems as though Trump's team is relying upon the statements of one witness, highly compensated. However, how many other witnesses did the prosecution present whose testimonies were contrary to the one Trump witness? How much weight does that one witness carry? We will soon find out. Not sure Trump and team understand what is really happening. The judge has already ruled he committed fraud. The last few weeks have been about how much he is going to pay. Trump is acting like he is still fighting the ruling that has already been rendered. Before final statements, right? Will these third-tier lawyers ever learn? At this point it is doubtful. My prediction, the monetary judgment will be close to $400 million in restitution, fines and penalties. The Trump Organization will also be barred from conducting business in New York for at least January 11th? Trump has to wait more than a month before he can post about the judge's clerk again. How will he handle this? I know, he'll post about the judge's wife. That should help him immensely. Next news. Yes, Trump can win the 2024 election. Here are 4 reasons why. Reuters. He has been impeached twice, tried to thwart the peaceful transfer of power after losing the 2020 presidential election, faces scores of charges in multiple criminal cases, and his critics warn he is plotting to rule as an autocrat. Trump leads his rivals for the Republican presidential nomination by nearly 50 percentage points in national opinion polls, a remarkable comeback for a one-term president who 3 years ago appeared vanquished and humiliated. The Biden White House argues the economy. Below are your comments. Actions speak louder than words. I was taught that as a child. The best way for others to know you is to observe you, not listen to you. How can voters not judge Trump by his behavior? It would appear to me that the writer puts far too much effort into relying on results of question AB. La polls to arrive at the stated conclusion, preferring to take the poll results as fact and sprinkle and some wishful thinking. We can put our hands in a blender and put it on puree, but will we? I sure hope not. What has happened to the American people? What happened to being honest and good, also doing the right thing? Trump has demonstrated time and again that because he is rich, he can do anything he wants and feels he can get away with it, while threatening any who oppose him. Is this the type of person? If anyone is concerned about another Trump presidency, stop all complacency now, because all signs are pointing to a Trump Electoral College victory. Don't think for a second those who perceive themselves as being persecuted will not in an instant vote to burn our democracy to the ground. Next news. End of Mr. Giuliani. If jury awards millions in damages to election workers, lawyer says. Reuters. Washington. Reuters. A lawyer for 2 Georgia election workers accused Rudy Giuliani on Monday of destroying his clients' reputations by falsely accusing them of working to rig the 2020 U.S. presidential election against Donald Trump. A jury heard opening arguments in a civil defamation trial focused only on how much Giuliani will have to pay the 2 workers, Wandrea Shea Moss, a voter registration officer, and her mother Ruby F. Riemann, who was a temporary worker for the election. A Feder. Below are your comments. Guilt has been established, now it's just a question of how much he must pay. Bankruptcy plea is likely to follow, both morally and financially. Giuliani's lawyer claims this is a politically motivated trial. He should explain this because none of the litigants in this trial are currently involved in politics. Trump has claimed his trials are all politically motivated, so now every Republican who gets even a traffic ticket uses this claim. I'm amazed, though I shouldn't be, that so many MAGAs still blame these 2 women for stuff they didn't do. And this is even after Rudy testified in court, under oath, that they had been deliberately set up as scapegoats for the purpose of doubling down on Trump's stolen election lies. The fact they say the older you get the wiser, but that logic does not apply to everyone. A smart man, with sound thinking, I guess, was bamboozled by a man with the IQ of an 8-year-old. I just don't understand how or why. That's where I'm stuck at. How can Trump convince him to give up all he has worked for? Next news. This is huge. Reporter breaks down Jack Smith's Supreme Court request. CNN. Special counsel Jack Smith asked the Supreme Court to decide whether Donald Trump has any immunity from criminal prosecution for alleged crimes he committed while in office. This would be the first time the High Court has weighed in on the historic prosecution of the former president. CNN's Paula Reed reports. Below are your comments. Great move. It puts the Supreme Court in a corner. If they pass on hearing it, I would think it then negates Trump's ability to appeal. And if they do take it on, well then either it solidifies all cases, in which Trump is toast, or SCO. 2 will open up a huge Pandora's box that will impact generate. The SCOTUS, although packed with conservatives, would be wise to let the prosecution go forward. If Trump is immune, then Biden too would be immune, and thus the world could change drastically. Trump knows he's guilty, and his only chance is to delay this with the hopes of getting elected. We now get to find out how complicit our court system is going to be in helping him. Big risk for a huge reward here. It all depends on whether the Supremes are complicit with Strumpsky's bid to destroy our democracy and establish totalitarian rule. But it would seem to me that there's little need for a Supreme Court in a governing system where the whims of the autocrat are de facto. Our democracy is on life support thanks to Trump. If this SC rules in his favor, the radical conservative justices are pulling the plug. And the message is that if re-elected, Trump is free to break any law he chooses. Next news. Trump campaign criticizes special counsel for Supreme Court move. The Hill. Former President Trump's campaign railed against special counsel Jack Smith's request for the Supreme Court to rule on whether Trump has immunity from federal prosecution, accusing Smith of launching a Hail Mary to keep Trump from retaking the White House in 2024. Smith asked the Supreme Court on Monday to immediately weigh in on whether. Below are your comments. One would think that if Trump and his attorneys had an actual belief in their immunity defense, that they would want to get finality on the issue as soon as possible so that he could campaign without the threat of conviction hanging over him. The truth, of course, is that the offense is just good move Jack, as it was always the end result of what Trump wanted. He just didn't want it on the fast track. Trump, and many of us, feel that the SC is bought and paid for. Maybe he'll give them all a few $1 million to vote his way. Good news if that President Biden is still president in. The appeals court ruled he is not immune from civil litigation, so it logically follows they would rule the same way regarding criminal charges, the crimes he committed trying to remain in office after he lost the election were politically motivated. Holding him accountable is justice. If he's immune, he should welcome this. It would cause the case to be dismissed. I guess they don't think he really is immune and are afraid of a Supreme Court decision. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time, Donnie. Next news. Senator Ron Johnson squirms when CNN's Caitlin Collins asks him to back up claim. HuffPost. This wasn't what this interview was gonna be about, the Donald Trump ally complained to the source. Anchor. Below are your comments. Trump's followers have made this claim for 3 years now without providing a shred of evidence. Every case they made in every court was immediately thrown out because they had no proof of their aims. Many of the attorneys were sanctioned for bringing frivolous suits, and still they claim they will. Johnson wanted to put Social Security up for an annual approval vote. And still seniors on Social Security voted for him. There is something wrong with American voters today. This isn't what this interview was going to be about. Is a reminder that for the last 2 decades, at least, Republicans have refused to appear on news programs without being allowed to control the Steins and refuse follow-ups. They're not used to going off script. Ron Johnson can't produce evidence that doesn't exist, but Republican claims of rampant voter fraud will justify their efforts to require ever more stringent voter requirements. I can't help but think that his trips to Russia were rewards for subverting our democracy. It's amazing how GOP leaders just flat out lie and their followers still blindly support them, and FTEN even gains support the more they lie. As an independent, that's the biggest difference I see between the two parties. Of course there are plenty of Democrats that lie, but they seem to lose sup. Next news. Trump should be barred from appealing reinstated fraud case gag order, NYAG says. Reuters. New York's Attorney General and a judge overseeing Donald Trump's civil fraud trial have urged a mid-level appeals court to deny the former U.S. President's request to appeal a decision reinstating a gag order in the case to the state's top court. The judge overseeing the case, Justice Arthur Engoron, on October 3 barred Trump from speaking publicly about court staff after he shared on social media a photo of he judge's law clerk posing with U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, a Democrat. Below are your comments. New York is a state where such a thing as a vexatious litigants list exists. What that list is a listing of people and entities who cannot file a lawsuit, appeal, or motion without a judge and a clerk reading through and signing off on it. In short, Leticia James wants to put Trump on that list. How low has our country gone when we are actually litigating whether or not a defendant can verbally attack and threaten a court employee in his case? Stuff like that used to be common sense. The answer is no, and there used to be swift and severe penalties for such behavior. They need to stop giving. Trump demanded that Saudi Arabia cut back production back in 2020. According to Trump, he worked out a deal where OPEC producers would all agree to reduce their output. The reason we now have high oil prices is that they have not returned their production to pre-pandemic levels. Hey, by the medias. Next news. SBF's lawyer says the FTX co-founder may be at the very top of the list as the worst person I've ever seen do a cross-examination. Business Insider. David Mills struggled finding lawyers who'd take on SBF's case, describing the FTX co-founder as the most hated person on earth but not Donald Trump. Below are your comments. If a defendant wants to testify, an attorney's hands are tied, even if the attorney understands that testifying will be a disaster. Defendants have an absolute right to testify in their defense. There's no doubt that SBF is guilty and should do very hard time, but it seems a little malpractice. Why for his attorney to be bad-mouthing him before sentencing? I don't care and it reinforces my disgust of lawyers, but, just sayin'. The government hates when you steal money. That's their job. Isn't it the attorney's job to prepare a client for cross-examination? So he must have had one of the worst attorneys. Cross-exam has nothing to do with guilt. He is just as nasty as Crumbly, who was sentenced to prison for school bleepings. Both are bad people. Next news. Donald Trump says he'll sell you a piece of the priceless suit he wore in his mugshot. But make sure to read the fine print. Business Insider. Donald Trump is selling pieces of his mugshot suit and a dinner with him at Mar-a-Lago for $4,653. But the fine print doesn't guarantee either. Below are your comments. So if Trump ends up in jail, will the bonus gala dinner possibly be held in jail? Would Trump offer night in jail with him then for $5,000, $10,000? Would he sell his worshiper a chance to take his place in jail for $10,000 per day? And if you do 7 or more days, he would give a special pricing. Since Trump. How many of you remember that when Trump came on the political scene he said he was worth $10 billion and wouldn't need anyone's money? How'd that work out? Those who rush to buy them do not understand the legal terms like in lieu of, in our sole discretion, etc. They are willing participants in snake oil trades. If Trump didn't inherit the equivalent of $400 million in today's dollars, he'd be selling cars at a buy here pay here lot in Queens. Next news. Ancient Roman home with unparalleled mosaic found in Italy. AFP. Italian archaeologists have uncovered a luxurious Roman home near the Colosseum, boasting an unparalleled mosaic featuring shells, marble and precious glass, the Culture Ministry said Tuesday. Trump T.S. warships, tridents. Below are your comments. A complex sequence of scenes are depicted through different types of shells, Egyptian blue tesserae, precious glass, minute flakes of white marble or other types of stone, according to the ministry. Unparalleled in Rome is a really big thing. I really would love to see more pictures. The news are less than 1 day old, so we may get further info along the week. It's good to be a politician at any age. That would be amazing to see. Cool digs. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you like it, please thumbs up.